I just can't get over this. And here's the 5 things that I'm looking at from this game. Number 5, going from 5 to 1 is how we like to do it here with the Farzy 5. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. Mark, what was that one play? Yes, you're damn right, that one play. Took a touchdown off the board in the third quarter for the Eagles. Your tight ends are actually getting targeted. Your tight ends are actually getting used in this game. And you have J.J. Arcega-Whiteside and Andre Dillard. You wait on for him for a second. And they're pulling touchdowns off the board, these guys. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, you got one job. You're a second-round pick that's not even being looked at anymore as a target. You literally have one job on offense, and that is block. That's it. Block. You're fine after that. Just block. That's it. On that little rub route, that little pick play, as the referees called it, you can't extend your arms. I know a lot of people say, oh, it's a terrible call. That was the call. There is literally no other call to make when you see an offensive player fully extend his arm to push away a defensive player. Like, there's no other call to make. You had to make that call if you're the official. You're standing right there. You see it happen, and they score a touchdown on it. If that happened against the Eagles, people are, the other way. Once they heard the explanation, and they go, wait, yeah, you can't do that. But in this regard, because it's against the Eagles, people are flipping the hell out. And I understand why, because not everybody understands that rule. But it's the most basic rule you can have if your only job when you're in on offense is blocking. You're not getting targeted, so just block. That's it. Block. And he didn't even do that. He made a play on special teams, but whatever. All right. Number 4 on the Farzy 5 here. Andre Dillard. My man, pots and pans. I know that Nick Sirianni, after the game, said, no, it's a tough play because it's an RPO and he's not going to know. He's not a rookie anymore. Know where you are on the field. I went back and I watched that play. Dallas Goedert almost had his head ripped off his body to try to score that touchdown. And he's got to look over and see a flag is thrown because Andre Dillard didn't know where he was in the football field. I went back and I watched that play a couple of times. I was like, I could see how it'd get lost. But then again, I'm not a starting left tackle in the NFL. And neither is he, to his credit, right? Or his excuse, I guess, or explanation. Neither is he. But he's got to know where he is on the football field. That's not just an NFL play. That's a college play, too. You mean to tell me in Washington you didn't know where he was on the football field? Know where you are. You're not a rookie anymore. Know where you are on the football field. If you feel yourself starting to drift away a little bit, get back to the line of scrimmage and start making some more blocks. I know it was an RPO, but as far as I'm concerned, that's a play that Andre Dillard cannot afford to make. He cannot afford to make that mistake continuously. And look, I know a lot of people will be looking at this, and we'll recap in a second, but Dillard and the self-inflicted wounds, that's a lot of things that the Eagles talked about after the game. We'll let you hear in our Rothman Orthopedics locker room report what Nick Sirianni had to say, what Jalen Hurts had to say about this game. A lot of them talked about self-inflicted wounds. Number 3 on this list. If you look at the game Tyreek Hill had, which was just unbelievable. I mean, the Eagles really didn't have much of an answer for that. For me, I would have put Darius Slay. I would have put Slay over Tyreek Hill a lot more than what you were going to do. But then again, the Eagles wanted to go zone in a lot of instances here, so they couldn't really do that. Now, I know you might call it a box and one in basketball. Just, hey, Slay, wherever, what is it, the old remember the Titans? Get Ryan Gosselin out of there, put this guy in, just go cover 43. That's all I want you to do. Just go cover 43. That's what I would have done with Darius Slay. Go cover 10. Don't look at anyone else on the field. Hang with 10. That's it. Steven Nelson in this game. Look, he is not a Pro Bowler. He's not an amazing player. He's not a shutdown corner. But it certainly seemed the vast majority of times that Tyreek Hill was having his way with his Eagles defense, Steven Nelson was supposed to be in there in coverage. And not so much. There was the one player, I believe it was Anthony Harris, was over Tyreek Hill at the goal line. You can't have a linebacker on him. And that brings me to actually, before I get to number 2. So Steven Nelson is who I look at. And Darius Slay just pissed me off after the game. If there is ever a day to just let people say whatever the hell they want on social media, regardless if it has any semblance of realness or accuracy, just let him go. Whatever people are saying about Darius Slay after the game, just let it go if you're Slay himself. Just let it go. I don't need to know about you only allowing 2 separate 100-yard games to 2 separate different wide receivers in your NFL career. Good for you. Hey, that's great. Good for you and your moral victory as far as that's concerned. But as far as this game goes, nobody wants to hear about how great you are after you saw a guy like Tyreek Hill just torch you After you see Patrick Mahomes throw for 5 touchdowns against this defense. After the Kansas City Chiefs, did they punt? I don't think anybody punted in this game. Slay, I love you, but I don't need to hear that. Number 2, Jonathan Gannon. Well, there was a plan, right? Like there was a simple request going into this football game. Don't be the worst. Don't be the worst defense the Kansas City Chiefs had faced through 4 weeks. Don't be the worst of the 4 teams that they have played. Oh, and you were the worst. You can't be the defensive coordinator of the worst team they've seen. There was no scheme. There was no game plan. There was nothing that you could have drawn up or done to be better than the worst they have faced. 42 points. 42 points. And there wasn't a situation where your offense was giving them the football in bad field position, so you can't look to that excuse going, oh, of course they put up that many points. No, I understand what the Kansas City Chiefs are. I understand they got, let's see, you can talk about 3 of the best players in football on the offensive side of the ball. When you talk about Patrick Mahomes, talk about Travis Kelce as their tight end, and he wasn't even that big of a factor yesterday except for that damn shovel pass. And then you also look at Tyreek Hill. I understand you got some pretty potent offensive weapons that you're going up against. But to be the worst that they have seen so far this year, that's bad. That is really, really bad. And I made the comparison. When I saw Anthony Harris line up over Tyreek Hill at the goal line, that gave me flashbacks to last year when Nate Gary was lined up over Chase Claypool, who I believe already had 3 touchdowns on the day, 2 touchdowns on the day, whatever it was. Claypool, Tyreek Hill, both had giant red flags coming out of their head going, I don't know if you want to leave me on a linebacker here. You got to do something in that situation. You have to have somebody on the field, kill it, switch off with them, something. Because that is just no excuse whatsoever to see what happened in this particular game and in that particular play that the Kansas City Chiefs were able to get another touchdown of Tyreek Hill on. Finally, rounding out the Farzy 5. I'm going to say this. This gentleman has come under criticism a lot. And I have mostly defended him because there's been a certain little thing there called double teams. In this particular game, I looked over on more than one occasion, more than a handful of occasions. Many times throughout the game, I looked over, and Fletcher Cox was not getting double teamed. Brandon Graham not being out there to set the edge. You need somebody else to come in here and step up and play high above what they have been playing at over the last couple of years even. And Fletcher Cox has not done that. When you're paid to be the man, you better be the man. And he has not been the man. And then after the game, I see a tweet come out from Jeff McClain of Inquirer.com. And Jeff puts out a tweet basically summing up Fletcher Cox's stats so far this season and where he ranks in there. Now, a lot of times you can look at those double teams and say, oh, he's not getting the sacks or he's not getting the tackles for loss because he's getting double teamed. This particular game, not the example. But here's what Jeff McClain put out there. Fletcher Cox stats through 4 games, 5 tackles, 0 of them for a loss, 0 sacks, 0 quarterback hits, and he's got a fumble recovery for a touchdown. The ball just fell right in his hands. I mean, good for him, right place, right time. He was actually in the backfield for that, so, I mean, we can also look at that. That's cool. But this is inexcusable for Fletcher Cox. And I am not someone that always bashes this guy. I think this guy is a great defensive tackle. This year, he has not been a great defensive tackle. Last year, because of the foot injury, as we found out when the year started, that was still really bothering him. After that went away, he started to play like a Pro Bowl type of player that we're used to seeing him play at that level. With Brandon Graham not being in there, and Javon Hargrave, by the way, having one hell of a start to the season, there is no excuse why Fletcher Cox has not elevated his game to what this team really needs. And when you see the Kansas City Chiefs go berserk in the 4th quarter with running the football right down the middle where Fletcher Cox is playing, how do you not get involved and make some stops? How do you not get in the backfield and wreak havoc? There was one particular play, I believe it was the 3rd and 8 play, 2nd quarter, I want to say, where Fletcher Cox was lined up, ball snaps, Patrick Mahomes drops back, Fletcher Cox one-on-one, and he is getting owned by the Chiefs in this particular play. Patrick Mahomes starts to roll off to the left, ends up scrambling for the first down, got whatever 12, 13 yards on the scramble. And Fletcher Cox is still there, tangled one-on-one. And then you see him start to trot over to the right to try to follow Patrick Mahomes. And you see him look back at the offensive lineman he was squaring up against, and he either said, like, I'll get you next time, or, that won't, good for you on that one, whatever. But it looked like there was some words exchanged there that weren't of the venomous nature. But Fletcher Cox ultimately has to be the guy to step up. I know sometimes you might say, oh, it's unfair just because he makes that much money. He makes that much money because he's supposed to be that good. And you need someone to elevate their play when you don't have Brandon Graham on that defensive line.